Well, today we're in a 2021 Toyota Venza. This is a mid-sized SUV, crossover SUV as it is. Sits kind of in between the RAV4 and the Highlander. And today we're going to talk about, the vehicle in general, what my thoughts are. I've had it for about a week or so now. And then we're really going to dive into the technology side of it because, hey, you're on techgooch. Hey guys, welcome back to techgooch. Today, we're looking at the 2021 Toyota Venza. Now, this is a hybrid SUV. It actually is a bring-over, I guess, from overseas. So the 2021 model is the first model of the Venza. It was here in the United States as the Venza here in the US. For fuel economy, it's quite amazing. It has a 39 combined fuel economy, 40 in town, 37 on the highway. And that's pretty accurate. I think the 37 on the highway is probably rated at that 55, 60 miles an hour. If you're going at 65, 70, somewhere in there, you're probably going to get somewhere closer between 36 and 37. That's what I've personally observed in the field. But in town, that 40, I think, is pretty accurate because I am consistently getting around 40, maybe slightly above in some instances, in town when I'm not going on those highway speeds. In town being that 25, 35 mile an hour sweet spot. It's definitely, it's a perfect commuter vehicle because it sits really well in town and on the highway. That hybrid technology that they have in here is fantastic. Now, it's not going to be the crazy, most horsepower-ridden vehicle ever. It's a energy efficient hybrid. That's what it is. So it's got a 2.5 liter four-cylinder up front, along with two electric motors for the front system, and it has a third electric motor in the rear. Combined, that system generates 219 horsepower. That's nothing to shake a stick at, but it gives you plenty of power for where you need it. Now, the 0 to 60 time, I can't say that it had the most giddy up. It didn't. It really doesn't. But it has plenty to get you where you need to go. If you're not sport racing this thing, which, I'm sorry, if you're buying a energy efficient hybrid, you're probably not looking at the 0 to 60 times to begin with. With that said, it gives plenty of power to put you back in the seat. I'll be honest about it. So while if I looked on the sheet, the spec-wise of where it sits against other vehicles, there are more powerful vehicles. Same thing goes you kind of have to compare this to the RAV4 hybrid. Because, like I said, it's technically, I think, situated between the RAV4 and the Highlander. It's slightly longer than the RAV4 is, but it is slightly shorter than the RAV4. So it kind of puts it out into that closer to the ground feeling SUV. You don't sit up quite as much as you do in a RAV4. It's not drastically different, mind you, but it is a little bit different. I will honestly say that I believe you have a little more space in a RAV4. Now, I haven't been in a RAV4 for about a year. But I would say that you have maybe a little more space in a RAV4. That said, this cabin is is structured very well. I'll give them a lot of credit where credit is due. But if you actually look on the spec sheet after thinking about this stuff, the cabin volume for the passengers is slightly smaller in this vehicle compared to the RAV4. The cargo volume, though, is also slightly smaller in this vehicle compared to the RAV4. And you're talking a few cubic feet, which, that's not something that you're not going to notice. It is noticeable. I noticed it because I've ridden in both. That said, I really like a lot of the features on this vehicle. The fuel economy is slightly better on this vehicle. They did some really good things. Now, I'm not going to do this huge comparison between the two because I don't really have them sit next to each other, and I haven't driven that RAV for, about a year. So I can't say without, question this versus this. But on the spec sheets, it is slightly smaller than the RAV4 in this case. Yeah, that's going to be your I guess your biggest noticeable differences is a little bit structured size. Now, this one is obviously updated with all the modern gadgets and everything, and that's what this video is going to be mainly about. Is about the electronics, about the technology that they've implemented here. Not just on the touchscreen itself. There is kind of a holographic display that you can get on this guy that shows up on the windscreen as you're driving. You don't even have to look down on your dash. You can see exactly how fast you are going. You can see the speed limit of where you are, the direction you're heading, and also where you are in terms of the eco capability of your charging the battery, or if you're in power mode or eco mode. It's all on the screen for you to easily see. Now that's an extra option. It's included in one of their technology packages, but it is quite nice. Another item that they have is the electrochromatic sunroof here. It's kind of a panoramic sunroof. They actually, I think they call it Stargaze, I think is what they officially call it. Really cool. I will say it's a $1,400 option. But if this was my vehicle, I'd kind of want that. That's pretty cool. It's really neat. And as you can see right now, I'm not getting blasted by sun because I actually have it on diffused mode. It's not directly. Now I can hit on it and boom, now she's in, well, completely translucent, and now the sun's hitting me. But it's nice because it's not just you have it open or you have it closed. It's got a couple nice modes. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. There's just a lot of technology that they threw into this vehicle for where it sits and where it's priced. There's just some really neat features like that electrochromatic sunroof that you don't see on very many, or maybe not even any, mid-size SUVs. Really nice touch display. A lot of really cool features. So let's change the camera angle. Let's get to talking about that stuff. Okay, let's first talk about the electrochromatic roof here. So right now it's completely opaque. I can see through it, but it's very whitish in terms of color. I don't know how well that's going to come through on the display. There is a button literally right here on the overhead console, right next to the SOS emergency button, that if it's off, it's opaque. But if I electrolyze it, right, if I actually push electricity to it, this would become completely translucent. So I hope that actually shows. There you go, boom. So I click it, it goes completely translucent. I can see everything out of this. I can see the bugs up there, the clouds, everything. If I hit the button again and I just take electricity away, it goes opaque again, and now it's just kind of that white frosted look. So now I can close that as well. There, right next to the left of it, there is the open and close button. If I push and hold the close button, and now we actually will have the cover coming through. And now we're completely enclosed. We're not seeing anything now. We just have a nice cover over it. Same thing goes, I can push and hold and open and let it open up. And now we have the full panoramic roof again. I bet we can probably stop it midway and just open up the front. Yep, we can stop that anywhere we want, to be honest. I like it open because it gives us a nice look to it. And that opaqueness, you can, again, adjust how much light is coming through. Little or a lot. So it's nice. It's when it's opaque and the sun's right above you, it doesn't feel like you're getting sunburned. That's the beauty about this. I can actually now use the sunroof without feeling that I'm baking my skull. And for me, with having really light amount of hair, that's exactly what it feels like sometimes. Okay, folks, now we're looking at the entertainment system of the vehicle. In this case, this is the Limited. It has the higher end of the two displays that are available. It does have a 8-inch stock display in the base models. In this case, this is the 12.3-inch larger display. So it's a very wide display that is very customizable and works fantastic. I love it. It gives you a lot of information. Now, there are some things that I do miss about the older type systems. For instance, I'll say this real quick, because I do have the climate controls up. You can see the climate controls here. I do have climate controls here. I do have them down here as well. So driver's side and then passenger side down here, as you can see. And if I can adjust the temperature accordingly. Same thing with the display, right? I can actually just choose it on the display. I am a person that loves dials. I'd prefer this down here to be a dial rather than the up, down, up, down. If you're going to give me two options, don't have them be exactly the same. In my opinion, I understand that's an opinion, and this is sleeker, less things for dust to get in on, this is easier to clean, but I'm a dial guy. Those old mechanical type dials, they just feel great. Even though they're digital, it just feels good, right? And I like being able to see it. Now, having the display here, they don't have to double up and actually have a temperature display down here, so they're saving that capability. So that's okay. But if you're going to offer two different ways of adjusting it, I'd prefer it to be not the exact same, I guess, personally. Okay. That said, Up here we can see we have our climate controls, we have our seat heating or cooling. Right now I have my cool on full because it is a little warm in the vehicle right now. And same thing if I change the passenger to cool or warm, or turn it off if you have it 0, so you just kind of hit it. But there's 3 settings on each of those. We can actually go to the audio here. Right now I have it turned off, but you can choose between Bluetooth, FM, AM radio, Sirius XM, whatever have you. There's also a trip information where you can see I have 325 miles remaining in the tank. And if I was actually driving and everything, you can actually see all this stuff. I've never looked at the history, so you can see where my fuel economy has been till now. This is probably mainly on the highway. This is mixed, probably on highway in town. This is obviously, I wonder how far you can go back with that. You can probably go back a little bit further on the main system. Energy system, we can see the battery is about half, and it just cycles around and it automatically adjusts. Now it's probably drained down a little bit because I've been sitting here talking on video, right? Alright, so that's that. We can go to info. We can see the eco mode, the battery, how much where the power is going, which wheel it's going to, things like that. And then of course you always see the information down here, just quick and easy access information that you want to see. Now right now it's set to driver's side. As you can see over to the right hand side over here, there's these little arrows here, the little chevrons. I select that, it actually bumps it over there so that the passenger can mess with it while, well, let's say I'm driving. This is very reminiscent because this is exactly the same setup as you see on basically all Toyota vehicles, whether it's a couple years old or today. So this system is the same. It's just adding this other capability on the display so you can control more through your big display that you have in your vehicle. There are still physical buttons, although they're not really physical buttons down here, touch buttons. Power for the system, if I click the home, it'll go to the home screen, which is what I'm on. If I hit menu, it'll go to the main menu, which is where you can, obviously if you've used Toyota systems in the past, it's exactly the same. There's an audio setup where I can actually see the different sources that I have available to me. Right now I don't have anything plugged into USB or aux, so they're grayed out, but Bluetooth, my phone is connected, Sirius XM, AM, FM. So things like that. Map. Again, if you're used to the standard Toyota map system that's been in the vehicles for several years now, it's essentially the exact same system. It's a more modern one that's on my 2019 Tacoma, but it's the same system that's on the 2020 Tacoma. Same audio input as all the 2020s and newer, pretty much, and some, probably even some a little bit before that. But it's the better system, so better audio input, better voice recognition. It also has Amazon's Assistant built in if you'd like to set that up as well. That's an option for you. They did backdate that, so my 2019 Tacoma did actually have that feature added to it, which is nice, but the standard Tacoma speech recognition system on those older vehicles was terrible. Substantially better today, and this continues that. Moving down here just a little bit further, we have our volume buttons here on the left, which obviously if you're listening to something, volume up and down. We have our tune track system up and down over here on the far right, and then in the center here we have more of the standard stuff for the heating cooling system. HVAC system, where we have our temperatures. We already went over that, but then we can actually choose to have the fan off. We can put on the defrosters on the mirrors and the rear window. We can change the fan speed, and then the front window defroster there. And then there's just a full auto button that just, hey, I'm going to set the temperature, you take care of it, right? And that's kind of where it's currently set up, to be honest. But that said, that is the big touch screen system in a whole. We're going to talk a little bit about the buttons down below and to the left here now. Okay, as you can see below the controls here, we actually have a kind of a bin, deeper than my hand, to be honest. And that is actually our Qi charger, our USB inputs, and also our auxiliary input, if you can kind of see it back in there. Right now, the power button there, you can see the charger is on. If I actually take a Qi-enabled phone, wireless, and you can see, there we go, there she's charging up, and you can see that it has enough power back there. The light went from green to amber, so she's charging. So that's where the Qi charger is, which kind of back in that cubby, it's gonna, in my opinion, it's gonna hurt a little bit on the reception of the phone, but does it work? Yes, it works. In front of that, the buttons here, we have our park mode button, which I'll actually put kind of the parking brake on. And then we actually have a hold button. If you can see over here, that hold button kind of holds the brake when you let go of it. So if you go to come up to like a stoplight, I guess, you can stop the vehicle, let go of the brake, and it's going to hold the brake while you just sit there. And then as soon as you hit the accelerator, it'll let go of the brake for you. So that's a little bit different. I haven't really used it, but yeah, I guess it's there. Specifically with people that have a hard time holding pedals for long periods of time, I guess. EV mode. The EV mode's kind of neat. If you actually turn on the EV mode, it allows you to run in full electric mode. Like if you're in a residential neighborhood at really early in the morning or late at night and you don't want to wake people up, you can put EV mode on. It'll run on electricity as long as there's enough power in the batteries, and just run on electricity without having the motor, basically silently. But you can't go very fast. You're talking like, and I don't know if it's like 10 or 15, and then it'll automatically kick out of EV mode for you. But it will. That does allow you to go just kind of creep along silently, which is kind of neat. And then your drive mode is where you can actually select between like eco mode, sport mode, or just normal driving mode. And that driving mode, if I actually come up here in the dash, if I click it, there we go. You can see between the. Let me zoom in a little bit here. I'm just cycling between those modes, right? So if I click on that, and then let's hit the EV mode. You can see EV mode unavailable. It's too low. But if the battery was a little bit more, I could choose EV mode and actually go full electric. So yeah, that is the modes down there. I'm going to show you those buttons up here real quick since I'm looking right now. That is that sunroof, the stargaze mode right there. That's that button for stargaze mode, and that's our open and close. We do have our lights, right? They're actually LED lights. I will say that I like the lights on this better than I like on my other vehicles, to be honest. For the cabin lights, work really, really good. You can choose the door mode or not. That's up to you. And then you do have on the mirror the garage door opening capability and things like that. So, and then they have that SOS mode built up there. Let's go a little bit about the steering wheel here real quick. Volume controls, we have our menu option controls, so we can actually cycle through the various menus we have on in the driver control center. And kind of the standard stuff you would assume, to be honest. In here you can see your energy monitor, you can see your distance, things like that. We can adjust some settings. There is, on the main one we actually have cycle things that we can see here: eco score, digital speed, ratio, EV driving ratio. There's just a lot of information that you can see in here. The vehicle itself, we can see each individual tire pressure, and then the same thing we can see on the screen with our all-wheel drive mode to see which wheel is pushing the power out, and then our safety status, our various sensors, because we have blind sight monitors, we have pre-collision systems, things like that, already all built into this guy, and it works really, really well. I was amazed by how well it actually works, and we'll talk about that in here in a minute. Voice system where we can actually talk in and like put us in an address or whatever, pick up phone calls, stuff like that. These are our sensors over here for our lane departure sensors, as well as our collision warning system, as well as our following mode. So if you have cruise control on, you can adjust how close to the vehicle you want to get before it actually starts slowing down. And then our cruise control settings. Now I will say that I don't like this system here as much as I like the older little stick system that sticks out behind the steering wheel that you can kind of hit with your hand back here. I prefer that than doing this. That's more of a personal preference. This works just fine, but I do prefer the stick myself. And then also down here we have some other side, and we're going to go over this view item here because this vehicle does have the 360-degree view modes, automatic high beams, traction control off. This is going to be your illuminations, how bright you want your display on your dash, heated steering wheel, open and close the hatch. But that view mode, let's go into that right now actually. So if I click on view, I'm going to click it here in a second. Clicked it. Now we can actually see 360 degrees around the vehicle. I'm hoping I'm not getting too much glare on there from you. There, how about that? So we can see the vehicle. We can see all the way around us right now. There's nothing around us. If I move you can see the tires actually turning on there. If I click on the view mode again, it's going to give it a little. Let's see here. Click on it again. Oh wait, right here. There we go. Click it right here. We can actually see a little bit different. See around us, and it's surprisingly really, really accurate. If I actually find something here, maybe I'll find something real quick and we'll show you what it looks like on this system. Okay, so as I back up here, and I have it in reverse, you can see when I put it in reverse, and maybe I'll show you that real quick. I'll put it back in park. On park, you know, in standard drive mode, I have it there, but as soon as I pop it in reverse, it's going to put the backup camera in, but you also see a 360-degree view over here on the right-hand side. Now, the nice thing is, like most modern vehicles, you can see the arch path of where your back end is headed, right? So you can kind of give them a good idea. But on the right-hand side, you can also see where your front wheel is going to be going, or your front bumper, essentially, right? So what things you're going to swipe as you turn. A lot of information. So right here, I have a tractor trailer here, and it's going to start giving me a beeping here in a second when I start getting pretty close. And as I get closer, you can hear the beeping continue up. And now we're really, really close, and we don't want to get any closer. That's why it's giving me that high-pitched sensor. Now, the funny thing is the same thing kind of happens. I was in a drive-through, and let me go ahead and push that view mode back on. I was in a drive-through, and I can put auto, I can do anything on here, but I was in a drive-through, and a vehicle behind me actually pulled up really close to my rear bumper. Now, I was just sitting, I wasn't moving. He pulled really close to me, and this system went on, highlighted immediately, letting me know that somebody was, you know, was creeping up on me really good. I could see how close he was, because obviously I had the 360-degree view cameras, and then I was able to actually creep forward a little bit to get out of that kind of highlight area. But it actually started beeping at me and everything. I believe you can actually turn that off if you turn off the auto system, but it is nice to actually have that capability. And being able to see, you know, I can actually see even the tire there move. Because the cameras that they have here are similar to all the other vehicles. There's a camera in the very front bumper. There's a camera, obviously your rear-facing view camera. It's also basically a wide-angle view camera. And then you have two more cameras, one under each mirror, that give you this full, you know, obviously they stitch together electronically, gives you a really good view of everything around the vehicle. So, well done, Toyota. As you know, I saw this system for the first time personally in the 2020 Toyota Tacoma, which obviously has more instances than just, in this case, this stuff. It also has a lot of use in the four-wheeling capability, because that was a TRD off-road package, or a TRD Pro package. And the same thing goes if you start going too fast. The 360-degree camera system will automatically turn off, and you'll go back to your standard maps mode. And then if you have it on auto, it'll automatically come back on once you have that system on. If you turn off auto, it won't do that. So if I get, you know, going too fast again, pop it back out, should not come automatically back on, and that's what that auto button does. So works pretty good. So here we go. This is the exterior view of the 2021 Toyota Venza. From the front end, you can see nice, sleek, good, straight, modern lines on it. We have the various sensors up here, but there's our first camera that we have. There are sensors actually behind the badge here. That's going to be a lot of the driving sensors and stuff. And then there are the sensors up in the top of the windshield, as Toyota likes to do, or most vehicles do now. On the mirrors are the other cameras here, right there. There's one on each mirror. Now, the neat thing is when you actually do lock this vehicle, I actually go ahead and click the lock button, the mirrors automatically fold in. I like that a lot. Yeah, you could look at it, that's another electronic motor that could potentially go bad, but I'll tell you what, those mirrors, you know, any mirror today are not cheap. And so folding them in automatically for you every time you lock or unlock the vehicle is definitely, could be a money saver, to be honest about it. And so if I unlock it, she'll automatically come back out. Continuing along the lines here, we can actually see the full outside view of it. The rear, kind of that thin profile light, rear light, kind of neat looking, to be honest about it. We have a dual exhaust. I like the wheels that they put on the Limited Vert too as well. It's just really good looking. The other thing that I definitely will point out on the Limiteds as well is you're going to have those sensors for locking or unlocking on all of the doors. So I can click it here and lock it from the rear door. Same with unlocking. So that is something to point out, because not all of them have that. Sometimes it's just the driver door. And it does have the rear hatch as well. We're going to go over the cargo area next. Nice hybrid badge there. So let's first look over the passenger area. We saw the front area for the most part. Let's look at the rear area here. So we actually have some venting here in the center port, and they do have 2 USB ports. Doors from the bottom. There we go. 2.1 amp. So they are these decent charging ports. But size-wise, I actually have the seat back, not all the way, but even with my seat back as an adult, I still have plenty of leg room, and that's the big thing, leg room. This vehicle has plenty of it. I'll give it that. There's that full Stargaze sunroof in the opaque setting currently. Light-wise back here, we do have a light. It's just a single light, shared kind of between the cargo space and the rear passenger area. So not a whole lot of lights. We do have the oh no handles. I'm not going to say the bad word. And the leather accents, I love the brown leather accents. I think they look really rich. And of course that electrochromatic top, to be honest, that adds a lot of flavor to the vehicle as well. And of course I got my tripod sitting there. Moving on to the cargo area. Back behind here there is the button to open it. Now this is one of those items that I wish they would have made a little bit larger, and I think they could have made a little bit larger. So let me throw that out of the way. You can see here we have the JBL subwoofer back here as our 9th speaker technically. But under here we have the spare. There is a lot of space, in my opinion, between the spare and the bottom side of this cabinet. They could have made this drop down and given more storage space, in my personal opinion, and I would highly recommend Toyota to do that, to give as much storage space as possible back here, because you don't have a whole lot of room between here and, well, the gate. And so that's the one thing that I think this vehicle is lacking a little bit, is the space in terms of storage. Personal space in the cabin can get a little tight, but it's nothing too crazy at all. I wish there was a little more storage space on it. So yeah, that's that. Up here we actually can see where we have the capability of just closing the gate or closing the gate and locking the vehicle. Let's click that button. To be honest, I've never actually done it, but it should lock the vehicle and fold the mirrors in, right? And there she goes, fully locked. And so you hit that, you go into the store, and you're good to go. I'm going to note one other thing on the steering column. This is the left side of the steering column. So if I back around here, it's right down here to the left side. It's going to actually be able to adjust electronically the height of the steering wheel, but also how, if you want to push it in or bring it out. That's all on you. It's a personal setting, but it is there. It's all electronic. There are seat save settings here on the limited version, 1 and 2. So if you have two different people that drive this vehicle, you can save those seat settings, set in either 1 or 2. And of course, it's all electronic, just like all seats, to be honest, anymore are. And there is the up and down movement as well. So there's a lot of movement to it. And like I said, I'm comfortable here, and even in the back seat, with me being comfortable with my longer legs that I typically have, yeah, the back seat still sits an adult, not just a child. So what I thought I'd do is try to get some of maybe the noises that are a little bit different on, well, like a hybrid in general than a traditional vehicle. People that have hybrids are used to them. People that don't have hybrids or don't really have any experience with them are not used to them. So they were new to me a week ago, especially the charging noise, what I would assume is the motor spinning up to charge batteries. And the display tells you when you're doing these things. But in theory, any of those little like electronic motor noises are different to hear on a scale in a vehicle than they are anywhere else, especially when you're used to a motor noise. It's also obviously weird when you don't have a motor running at all and you're up to a stoplight and nothing comes on, and even when you start going, it still doesn't come on, but after you start getting up to speed, then the motor kicks on. It's different. And it's not anything new. It's not a new technology. It's been around for years, but I don't really have a whole lot of experience with hybrids. My parents had a couple Priuses. I'd ridden them from time to time, but completely different when you're by yourself, and yeah, it's a little bit different experience. So let's see if we can get some of those noises now. It's definitely hard to pick them up. I turned off the fans there at the end, but it's really, I think it's really hard to pick up with a microphone, and you don't know when it's going to actually hit. But the thing is that it does have kind of a, you can hear it, and it's not anything to really complain about. It's just something different because most vehicles have an engine noise all the time. Right now I have nothing but, oh, I guess my seat's blowing. That was the only noise that really was coming. Let's see if we get anything now. So there we have the electrical engine, or the electric motor kind of whirl, and then the engine kicked on once we got to a certain speed when we needed more power, and off we went. So that's the differences between it. And of course, like I said, if you've driven a hybrid before, you're used to it. And I've heard it before, but I'm just not used to it, right? And I'm getting more used to it the more I drive this thing, and I've been driving it pretty solid for a week off of work, essentially. And I like it. I do. My kids actually really like it. My wife actually likes it more than the RAV4, which the RAV4 technically has more room. But to be honest about it, if you're in the market for a very fuel-efficient crossover SUV, maybe you were thinking about the RAV4, take a peek at the Venza. You might be surprised. You might like this better. Technically, like I said, a little less room, a little less cargo space. There's no such thing as a perfect vehicle. But it is something to look at because it is different than any other vehicle. Now, one last thing that I've wanted to show you since the beginning is this holographic information center that's on the windshield for me right now. When you're driving, you see it. It's part of a technology package. It's like a $750 package. Comes with a few things, that being one of them, and that being one of the neatest things that isn't crazy hard to do. It's just they should have been doing this for years because it's so simple and it works so well. So let me show you this. Okay, so I'm on a off street right now, no traffic around me, so I can safely show you this real quick. But this HUD, or heads-up display, is just on my windshield. And you can only see it from the driver's perspective. If you're from the passenger side, you can't see it. It's only available from the driver's perspective. Essentially, there's a screen that's just bouncing off the windshield. Nothing fancy here, right? It's really not that fancy, but it gives you all the information. So it gives you your speed, gives you your direction, gives you your eco charge setting, and I'm gonna shoot it here in a second, but that requires me to go on a street. But it actually shows you the speed limit as well, with a little speed limit sign. Now I can turn this feature off or on at any time, right here, and let me brighten it up here. In the settings here, if I actually head back, right here, just on the settings menu, we go on the second page, heads-up display. If I click on that and choose off, it's not on, off. It's off now. If I click it back on, you'll see it pops back up there, and so it works really, really well. Let me show you what the speed limit looks like. So I'm on the highway here real quick, but that is what it looks like when it shows you the speed limit. It literally shows you a little speed limit sign. Now, the last item I wanted to talk about again was, well, power, I guess, because talking about acceleration, capability of the vehicle, things like that. It's not going to blow your pants off. It isn't. If you compare it to most other vehicles in this size category, it's not one of the faster of the set. 219 horsepower, like I said, that's not something that I would... Holy cow, it's got 219 horsepower. I'm not going to get all crazy giddy about that, but I did want to at least point out, in the best way, there's nobody around me right now. Literally zero body. I'm not going to break the law by speed either, but starting from a 0, see what kind of acceleration we got. There's 60. So, again, not crazy. It's got enough stuff to get by, to be honest. And same thing if you're passing cars. It's got enough giddy up at the higher speeds too, to also do it. It's got an ECVT transmission, electronically continuously variable transmission, so it doesn't have gears, right? It's not an 8-speed transmission. It's a ECVT. And you can feel that. You're not shifting gears all the time, things like that. But for what it is, it works quite well. I'll give it that. It works quite well. So in the end, where does this vehicle sit for me? Do I see this as my next vehicle? I don't believe so. It's nice. I'll give it that. Currently I have my 2019 Toyota Tacoma, and my wife has a 2020 Toyota Sienna. The Sienna we actually purchased after I test drove the Sienna. My wife loved it. She did. And we really, really like these vehicles. The Toyota lineup is a fantastic lineup. At the price range this is sitting at, is it terrible? No. I will say that my next vehicle that will replace my truck will be something that has much better fuel economy, and eventually when we replace the van, we'd like to keep a van and get better fuel economy, which that's coming as well. I do have the 2021 Toyota Sienna Hybrid coming up. I'm really looking forward to trying that. This vehicle, I will be honest about it, it exceeded my expectations to what a small crossover or a mid-size crossover really could be, especially in terms of technology capability. This is a pretty nice vehicle. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10. I'm also not going to give it a 5 out of 10. I'd probably give it, if I was to be honest, 6.5, 7 in terms of my personal rating. I wish it had a little more oomph. A little more giddy up in the acceleration department, but again, you're not buying this for that. So, I'm not going to dock it too much for that. My personal strikes against it probably would be for cargo room. I would want more cargo room. And I think they could have done it. I think they could have modified the back a little bit to give a little more cargo space, and it would have been justified. It really would have been justified. Now, the sunroof is awesome. And I would really want that. If I was to purchase this vehicle, I'm not going to say that I'm going to get the limited version. I don't need every bell and whistle this thing has, but I really do like that sunroof. So that'd be one thing. And I really like the heads-up display. That I continually use non-stop, is that heads-up display. I would not turn it off. I love it. It gives me information without me getting my eyes off of the road. And that's all about safety, right? Keeping my eyes on the road is all about safety. So it's one of those things I really like. And if I do have a 14-year-old daughter that's learning to drive, but teaching pretty much exclusively on my Tacoma currently. But this would be nice for her to keep her eyes on the road, is to see that information. I have no problem going around, but especially newer drivers or drivers that are not as confident, it's a fantastic option. I love it. So good, not perfect. And I will say this. It does have a 5-star crash rating, so it's a safe vehicle too. There's a lot of really cool things that they did with this vehicle, and it's situated very nice. Doesn't have a third row, but it's not big enough to have a third row, to be honest. So, would I recommend it? Yes. If it's the vehicle that fits your lifestyle, yes. If you have a mid-size SUV currently and you're looking to make a change, I tell you what, the fuel economy alone will blow most things out of the water in comparison. So that's kind of worth its weight, right? Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more vehicle videos, because I got more coming, and I hope to continue to have more coming soon. So we'll see you later.